Go home. There's nothing in the lobby for you. Go home. Hey there. Not sure if you can tell, but there's a ton of noise coming from outside of my apartment. There's a ton of noise coming from inside my apartment as Atticus is deciding to scratch at his litter box incessantly again while I record. But time does not stand still for those sorts of things when you are a city girl / crazy cat lady. So thus is my life. It'll probably never change. We move on. We adapt. So I want to say that I'm going to make this a pretty quick video. I'm going to try. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure what all I'm going to say. All I know is that this is not the video I was going to upload today. That video is still coming. However, I'll just go ahead and let you know. The topics of that video include, for one, Bella Thorne and just how incredibly awful she is. I need to move this a little closer, I think. And two, a more lighthearted matter that involves Trisha Paytas, particularly her engagement with Moses. And I don't feel right posting a video about those sorts of things. Lighthearted, some would even say happy things, while this is going on. And before I talk about my thoughts on this situation, I want to take this opportunity to be crystal clear about something. I have never said online that I love Trisha Paytas. I've never said that I hate Trisha Paytas. I'm trying to think. I don't think that I've said I hate anyone in my videos or anywhere online. I may have said that I love somebody's channel before, but that doesn't matter. The point is that there are certain people who want to discredit me by using things like, helloleesh loves Trisha Paytas. No. So I'll tell you now exactly how I feel about Trisha Paytas. 1, I find her to be a very interesting person. 2, I'm realizing that I might have been creating a bunch of sound issues for myself by having my mic bump against my chair. So if that's happened between the beginning of this video and now, God, I hope not, but I'm sorry. 3, I disagree with and am critical of Trisha Paytas during her transgressions. And in fact, she has pointed this out about me. She knows me as the girl who thinks that she shouldn't be on the internet. However, 4, I truly want her to be happy and to be well. And 5, when she's not being problematic, I appreciate her and I do find her to be entertaining. Guess who else I could say all those things about too? You guessed it, Gabby Hanna. So, before you try to talk to me, and I'm realizing I'm getting real feisty here, and I'm not talking to the majority of my viewers, especially those of you who think similarly to me and those of you who enjoy me, but just to these certain people. I know you guys, for the most part, give me the space to air out my grievances with these types of people. But to those people, before you dare brand me some sort of sheep that just fawns over one person, defends one person, because I may have said something neutral to positive about them in the past, because perhaps I have empathized with them in the past, or perhaps because it sounded like I was defending them by criticizing whoever they were opposed to in the moment, that doesn't make me a ride or die for someone. That makes me a critical thinker who can dislike somebody and recognize what I like about them, who can like somebody and recognize what I dislike about them, or can have very gray feelings about a lot of people, about most people, honestly. So those of you who try to use helloleesh loves Trisha Paytas as an argument against me need to check your own biases, because I would venture to say that you are somebody who is willing to ride or die for somebody. I could take a stab at who that person is, but I've already said her name in this video. I'm not going to say it again. I can take a stab at who you might be ride or dying for, and I just think overall that's a bad practice. That said, back to nuance. As of right now, Trisha Paytas has not done anything that I have found upsetting. As of lately. I don't mean ever. I did a whole 5-part series in which I talked about a lot of bad things that she's done. But right now, I do not find her to be a very problematic person. Hence why my next video about her was going to be lighthearted in nature. And I've told you guys that I am not a tea channel, a reporting channel, a drama. I'm not a drama channel in the sense that I'm not going to report any hot tea. Because by the time, quite frankly, aside from the fact that I don't want to be one of those channels, seriously, there's somebody just like jingling their keys in the lobby right outside my door. Go home. There's nothing in the lobby for you. Go home. Angry Alicia is coming out this weekend. If you know the kind of day I had yesterday, if you know about the 3 companies that fucked me over yesterday, if you know what the other side of my mouth looks like today, you might get it. This is a super quick reminder to like this video and subscribe to my channel if that's something you want to do. If that's not something you want to do, just don't. I'll shut up and start talking now. Where was I? I cannot identify as one of your standard drama or tea channels, not just because it is not the type of content I like to associate with, not too closely anyway, but because I cannot pump out content fast enough for it to be super relevant in that moment. Those channels are there to pretty much report to you exactly what's happening very shortly after it happens. Typically between like 2 hours to 48 hours from something happening is when you start to see these drama channels talk about these things, and that's not me. You'll see me talk about these things 1-2 weeks later. So as such, I don't think there's any point in me kind of giving you guys the entire rundown of what's going on, though I do recognize that sometimes people hear me talk on a subject and they really don't know the story behind what I'm talking about. So there was a situation here recently. Trisha Paytas put out a video where she was sobbing, and it is kind of one of those situations where I think you kind of have to work backwards. She is sobbing. She's upset. She's upset with Jeffree Star. She's upset with his wig guy. I was going to say like HairbyJay. I don't know. I'm not positive what his name is, but at the same time, when there are these like small time bullies, I don't love saying their names anyway. So, I guess his name is Jay, and that's what I'll just refer to him as. But she's watching this video of this guy Jay and this Insta story rant, I believe it was, where he's not just telling a story about the time that Trisha and Jeffree and him, and I'm assuming a few other people, went on a trip to Las Vegas to see Mariah Carey on Jeffree Star's dime. And it seemed that he wanted to talk about how miserable she was to be around and how ungrateful she seemed to him. And then there were some issues around like money, paying for it's a mess. And I think all of that is fine and well. There are so many details to the story I don't really care about. So please, there are a million videos about that out there. So go watch one of those if you really want to know what's going on. But this guy did go on Insta stories to rant about these things. I think it stemmed from Trisha talking about the situation on another video, and she's got her reasons for why she behaved the way she did. She was going through some stuff. I'm not here to make a judgment call on whether or not I think that Trisha was behaving in a way that was acceptable or unacceptable on that trip. I wasn't there. So you only have really hearsay to go by, and I honestly just don't fucking care. My issue is the way that this man chose to speak, I would say to Trisha Paytas, but to and about anyone, the way that he did on his Insta stories.
He's so fucking lucky he does not air this bitch out. Stupid, dumb, warts. Yes, sorry, I was ranting on this bitch. Let me tell you something, you stupid walrus looking ass full of warts. Bitch. God, I wanted to commit suicide so many times.
This is Jeffree Star's, wig guy, and also his friend. He took him to Wyoming. And, watching this is so triggering for so many reasons. I'm actually shaking as one. I did have 3 suicide attempts, which made me end up in a mental hospital. And the fact that Jeffree and him and Boom and all those people, talk and mock about this stuff, it's, makes me shake.
Oh my God, you could not find a more perfect crystallized poster child example of a bully than this person. I'm trying to even just rack my brain and remember all of the awful, terrible things he said about her in that video. And so what I was getting at before was to complain about her affect, her demeanor, her attitude, or whatever is one thing. To complain about money or any sort of like business issues you had with each other is one thing. Do it. Fine. Whether people agree with you or doesn't matter. But in this video, I couldn't count how many times this man chose to point out that Trisha Paytas is fat. That like things that don't even make sense. That she is like so fat that I think the fat's getting to her brain or some stupid shit like that.
She's saying, I'm gonna play it again. This stupid, dumb, Warris-looking ass bitch. Maybe she should go on a fucking diet and get lipo on her motherfucking brain, because maybe all that fat is fucking up her fucking brain. All right?
There's more stupid shit coming. He talked about her skin.
We talked about your skin, bitch. But your fucking skin looks like shit till this day, a whole year later, bitch.
Continually, bitch, your skin still a year later looks like blah, 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 blah. Talking about her being fat, talking about her having bad skin, talking about her not having money because she's renting this big, beautiful house in, I think, Malibu. Guess what, bitch? I'm renting. So I must be like so poor and sad and pathetic. And guess what? That constitutes a lot of your damn audience. So way to alienate just about everyone. Anyway, Trisha Paytas is poor because she is living in a rented house, even though she just bought a house, even though she's got a fucking 9-carat diamond ring on her hand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She could be living in a shoebox and it still would be mean. And I'm trying to remember the exact verbiage, but it was pretty clear that when Jay spoke of these things that were just so frustrating, it was pretty clear, if it wasn't expressly and explicitly stated, that Jay and Jeffree had been basically talking shit about Trisha in this way, at least for the past year or so. Now, I think Trisha has expressed to some degree some disappointment in Jeffree over this, and a little bit of I know she mentioned Ryland's name. I don't think she's explicitly said a whole lot about Shane and where he stands in all of this, but Jeffree has spoken out about this and said something like, oh, everything that Jay said in his videos was bad, vile, whatever word he decided to use, and like essentially saying that Jay's views don't reflect mine, which is all good and well from a PR standpoint, Jeffree, but I'm calling bullshit, because he also said that he has apologized to her on numerous occasions about the whole Las Vegas trip. So what were you apologizing for, Jeffree? And honestly, I don't even y'all know what I think about Jeffree Star. I think as much as I've decided what I think of Jeffree Star, I just think that he's just so fucking scummy. And it's shown by the people that he hangs around. And here's the thing. I don't agree with the things that Jay said. The things that Jay said were vile. I'm paraphrasing because this is all just from memory. But you know, and I know that these were the sentiments that Jeffree was expressing, while, as far as we know, this Jay guy was with Jeffree in Wyoming either at the exact time that Jay recorded those stories, or within like 2 days maximum.
HairbyJay just landed from LA. He brought so many wigs. And the headline reads, Kanye West might be sleeping with Jeffree Star.
And not only that, we saw that Jay was with Jeffree after those videos were posted. So tell me, from a business owner's standpoint, you own a business, one of your employees goes public on YouTube or Instagram, goes on a rant representing you, speaking on behalf of you, making you look bad, acting in a way that is vile, or whatever word you use to describe it, and that person is just welcome back in your life. That person is not fired. That person is not suspended. We're not even going to try to keep that person out of the frame in your videos to show that, like, dude's in timeout. Like, we don't agree with what he said. I don't believe you, Jeffree. I don't believe you. But my frustration coming into this really wasn't even aimed at Jeffree so much as that I think that we're at a point where Shane Dawson needs to take a stance. I think we've waited for a while to see if Shane Dawson would be the kind of person to be there for Trisha Paytas the way she's been there for him. So last year when Shane Dawson was canceled, there was a lot of talk, a good bit of talk about how Trisha was standing by his side. She would continue to talk about him as a good friend. She stayed by his side. I don't think she went too hard at bat for him. But she did make it clear that when your friends are going through a difficult time like that, it's not the right time to just up and leave them. And I agree with that. I think I said this in a video that I ended up deleting. I did say this in a video that you guys never saw, but I think it's one thing if new information is presented to you and then you go, whoa, I did not know that my friend was engaging in this sort of behavior. I need to rethink whether or not I want to stay in this friendship, right? But if none of this is new to you and then your friend gets in trouble for things that you were already aware of, then to ditch that friend because it looks bad, again, from a PR standpoint, because it looks bad, because it's not new information to you. If Trisha Paytas were to have ditched Shane Dawson in that moment, I would have lost more respect for her because that is the behavior of somebody who's just trying to cover their ass. If you disagreed with the behavior, you would have said so long before. And I do believe that that might have come up too in conversation, that these friends have had and can have these conversations in private about whether or not they agree with these behaviors. But the point is that Shane Dawson went through his cancellation and Trisha Paytas stayed by his side. At the same time, I said this in another video that I believe Shane Dawson sold his soul to the devil. And I mean that as a figure of speech, but it's also kind of like too creepily like I have to clarify whether or not I mean Jeffree Star is the devil, but I do think he sold his soul to the devil, metaphorically speaking, when Jeffree Star gave him a figure of 25 million. And I think that is very apparent in the fact that Shane developed this very close friendship with Jeffree Star. And as a side note, I do think that Jeffree was trying to use Shane Dawson to scrub up his reputation, and I don't think it's helped. I think that it's only hurt Shane Dawson, but that's a side note. So we see that in the fact that he became very close to Jeffree, and we see that in the fact that he had a very successful launch with the Conspiracy Palette. So he likely did get all of that money he was promised and more. And then everything went to shit for him right away, as one would expect when one sells their soul to the devil. So meanwhile, we knew that Trisha and Jeffree were friends at one point. Then she became kind of quiet about him. Then she would like very subtly imply that they're like not the best of friends anymore. And to my knowledge, this is the first time that she's spoken out and said that she's been hurt by Jeffree. She also said something about on that same trip, she was reaching for a nacho and Jeffree kind of like smacked her hand and told her not to eat. Which like, I'm trying to understand. I'm wondering if in like the beauty world that's considered like being a good friend. But it's just so on a human level, such shitty behavior. It seems that Jeffree, and especially this Jay person that Jeffree, as far as we know, is continuing to support financially, and who knows however many ways, they really went for her in the worst of ways. Let's attack your looks, not just attacking not just calling her fat, your skin is bad, you're fat, you're disfigured. He said your disfigured body or something like your disfigured tits or something like that. It sounded like he was saying Horus, but Trisha clarified that he was saying walrus. So he called her a walrus a number of times in that video. And then he also, I'm glad I remembered to mention this, sounded like he was making threats of physical harm, though going back to that whole like shit doesn't make sense point that I was making before, that like things that don't even make sense, that she is like so fat that I think the fat's getting to her brain, or some stupid shit like that. There's more stupid shit coming. He said something like not to mess with him because when he's done with her ass will be looking anorexic. Now that I think about it, that sounds less like I'm gonna beat you up and more like I'm gonna chain you to a pipe in my basement kind of vibes, you know? Creepy. But the point is that no matter what you think about Trisha, no matter what you think about Jeffree, no matter what you think about Shane, this behavior being directed at Trisha Paytas is abusive. And I am quite honestly sick of this narrative that some people like to put out, that they won't take a stance between two opposing factions for the sake of diplomacy. Because I'm friends with you and I'm friends with you, I'm not going to state my opinion. And I think that now's the time for Shane Dawson to make a statement. Because if your friend is being actively abused and you maintain your friendship with the person who's taking part in that abuse, you're supporting, and not only supporting an abuser, but you're supporting somebody who's abusive of your friend. That is bad behavior in a friendship. You are a bad friend if you support somebody who is unduly abusive to one of your friends, to one of your best friends of over a decade. Like, what the fuck, Shane? Come on. I've gone back and forth about how much I truly, like, dislike him, given everything that I learned about him over the past year. And there was part of me that still kind of wanted to believe that, like, although he made all these stupid fucking jokes that were not okay, that are disgusting and all that, I wondered if perhaps he's still maybe a nice person, because he kind of really had everybody, almost everybody, convinced that he, I'm such an empath. I'm an empath. I'm such an empath. Like, I just feel everybody's hurt so much. No, you don't. For one, because the fact that we saw him, on one hand, making jokes about Eugenia Cooney and her body. Say this all the time. If I can find a clip, I'll find it. I'll put it here.
Eugenia Cooney makes dolls? Well, you don't know struggle till you've taken a picture standing next to Eugenia fucking Cooney, bitch.
I don't know what that is or who that is.
That's my goal for like 2017, just skin and bones. If you want to do a YouTuber costume, this is you. Right.
Why? I don't get it. Because they're white.
Shane. Making jokes about Eugenia's body, and then when the time is opportune,
I have so many questions just personally, but I don't know which ones are overstepping a line.
She's gonna say it.
Is she?
I think so. How do I I'm gonna start crying.
we make a documentary with Eugenia Cooney where we're just like so empathic. And I do believe that it was that series, or at least at that time, that Shane was working with Katie Morton and being like, I'm an empath. I'm such an empath. I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can handle absorbing Eugenia's hurt. But you were totally fine exploiting it when you were making fun of her body and her sickness before. So this is something I haven't expressed. But one of the questions that keeps coming up is that person who shall not be named, who spread a rumor about Trisha Paytas and her sexual health. That person said that they had a source, a close friend of Trisha Paytas, somebody we assume is a mutual friend between the two of them. And while a lot of people believe that that friend doesn't exist, that everything was just made up, I don't put it past Shane Dawson to say that shit about Trisha Paytas behind her back. Like, full well knowing that it's not true. Probably saying it as a joke. But I am all about redemption arcs. I'm all about people learning from their mistakes. I'm all about people apologizing and making amends. But I just don't know that I believe Shane Dawson is a nice guy. I believed it for a little bit, and now it's just making a lot more sense that he's not. And if it seems he's trying to slowly make his transition back to the internet, no. You need to make a couple things right first. And one of those things, I think, before Shane Dawson even tries to attempt to try to come back in the public eye, you have to disavow Jeffree Star if you're going to gain any shred of respect from a majority of the audience. And now, for anybody who feels similarly to me about how Jeffree Star and his camp are acting towards Trisha Paytas, intimidating and scaring yet another person. Like, why don't we just take a head count of how many people have said that they are afraid and intimidated by Jeffree Star? And now it comes down to one of your best friends, if not your best friend. Shane Dawson is never going to see this video. But you guys know that I talk to creators as if they're watching my videos. It's just my way of getting, I guess, my frustrations out. But you're not allowed to come back to the internet before you address your feelings on it. You got to take a stance. That's what I'm getting at. If you have a friend here who's abusing a friend over there, it is your responsibility. I don't care who you are. It is your responsibility to take a stance. Whether that mean that you leave one of those friends behind or you just specifically state what you agree with and what you do not agree with, because that's hurtful to your friends to not do so. And if you were to leave Trisha Paytas behind and go off with Jeffree Star and just go be dicks together, at least Trisha knows where she stands and she can work on leaving you behind. But if you're going to pretend that you're going to be a friend to her, you're pretending. You're pretending at this point until you, at best, completely leave behind Jeffree Star's ass. Completely. Not associated with him, creating products with him anymore, not doing business, nothing. Or, at worst, I'm still friends with Jeffree Star, but Jeffree, the way you treated my friend is not okay. And I think that that is a lesson that a lot of us can learn from. So if you want my opinions, if you want to know what I actually firmly believe in around this situation, it's not about a love for Trisha Paytas. It is about my disdain for acting complicit and calling it diplomacy, and how good friends don't do that. So that said, I don't want to go into a long outro, but I do want to point out that this thing that we've heard a million YouTubers say, that they're finding that a lot of their subscribers are being unsubscribed to their channel. I do believe that that is happening for some of my subscribers. So please, if you're one of my subscribers and you didn't find out about this video because of a notification or me being in your feed, will you please just double check and make sure that you are subscribed. If you've watched a few of my videos and you're curious as to what I come up with next, I would ask for you to please subscribe. I do have some more thoughts on one of these people coming soon, which a lot of you guys guessed from my super cryptic cipher in my last video. But yeah, I just don't think any of this stuff is okay. And I wanted to get that off my chest before I move on to the video that I had originally scheduled for today. So you guys will see that in a couple of days. To you, the one person who's watching, who's not me, thank you for coming back and listening to this rant and hearing me out and giving me the space to do this. And I'll see you guys. Nope. You guys will see me in the next one. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Do, 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 do.